You're here for one reason and one reason only.
You need writing advice, and we're here to give it to you, baby.
One of the most important tools in your writing arsenal is the 3-act structure, which divides any narrative story into 3 major sections. Sid Field popularized this idea in 1979 with Screenplay, The Foundations of Screenwriting. But it certainly applies beyond writing movies, TV, and film.
A 3-act narrative includes Act 1, the setup, Act 2, the confrontation, and Act 3, the resolution.
And where better to start our explanation than in Act 1, the setup. This often includes exposition to explain the world and circumstances, establish the protagonist and supporting characters and their relationships. All this technical speech can get a little messy, so let's use a solid example set by Disney's animated Mulan, adapted from the late Ming Dynasty novel. After the prologue with the Huns, we meet our hero Mulan, her family, and we see how she fails to fit in with the usual traditional feminine roles.
You are a disgrace!
We also see how this affects her relationship with those she loves, and it gets the audience to care about the character. But then the first act runs into what is known as the Inciting Incident.
The Inciting Incident marks a shift in the narrative, also known as a call to adventure. Heroes faced with a situation, and their choice could change their life forever.
The Emperor's men ride into Mulan's village, declaring the Huns' invasion.
The Huns have invaded China!
And that a man from each family will be drafted to serve the army. However, the only man in Mulan's family is her injured and elderly father. She knows he won't survive if he goes. So she's faced with a choice. Let him go or take his place by disguising herself as a man in the army. Obviously she chooses the latter, otherwise Mulan would be a very short story. So how do you know when Act 1 of the plot ends? Well, appropriately it ends with plot point 1. This not only signals the end of the first act, but it ensures life will never be the same again for the protagonist. And it poses a question that will be answered by the end of the story. For Mulan, the army is singing and joking around until they come across a village ravaged by the Huns. The music cuts. All we hear is eerie environmental noise. It rises to see a decimated valley of bodies slain by the Huns. It's a stark tonal shift, and both Mulan and the audience is faced with a question. Can the evil be overcome in this story at all? Suddenly the stakes are much, much higher.
And this kicks off the second act, confrontation or rising action.
With renewed vigor, the protagonist attempts to resolve the situation brought on by the first major plot point. But this is only the middle of the story. Things almost never go according to this first plan. Mulan's general, Shang, rallies his troops to defeat their enemy.
We're the only hope for the Emperor now. Move out!
However, when they're ambushed, Mulan has to get creative during her confrontation. She's largely successful, except she's injured in the fight, and during a medical examination while she's unconscious, they discover that Mulan has been deceiving them all.
High treason!
I didn't mean for it to go this far.
Ultimate dishonor!
It was the only way!
This is the midpoint. Character relationships are fractured. The villain rears their head, more powerful than ever before. The hero reaches their lowest point and questions their decision of ever acting on their choice during the inciting incident. To paraphrase David Trottier's The Screenwriter's Bible, the character may need a higher sense of awareness of who they are and what they're capable of in order to deal with their predicament, which in turn changes who they are. In other words, they need to reach a pivotal point in their character development, and this is usually accompanied by another choice that can change everything. For Mulan, she sees the Huns return, right after concluding that she's not enough and she's no one special. Now, she can charge ahead blindly to try and stop the enemies again, or, as her guardian spirit Mushu votes, she can run away.
Home is that way. Did you see those Huns? They popped out of the snow! Like daisies!
The hero can't just give up, baby. They've got to charge on into Act 3, the resolution.
This is where it all comes together. That dramatic question posed in the first plot point is at the forefront, but all the other subplots get wrapped up here too. The Huns kidnap the Emperor, and it's time for Mulan to prove herself, and we see if the Huns can really be stopped. We have reached the story's climax. Luke succeeds in his mission to stop Emperor Palpatine in Star Wars Episode 6. Dorothy melts the Wicked Witch of the West in The Wizard of Oz. The tension that has been building for the entire story is released, and we finally creep into the wrap-up portions. The hero returns home, changed forever, but with a better sense of who they are. The 3-act structure for stories gives a guide to writers and storytellers to help build a satisfying plot. While there's always exceptions to every rule, most stories fall into this general structure. If you're struggling with your own plot, try asking yourself, what's my inciting incident? How about my midpoint? Does my hero come to their second plot point resolution too quickly or too late? You don't have to follow it to a T, but it can really help hammer out your own stories. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, keep on writing.
Catch you later, baby.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening in to today's today's broadcast. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that bell to never miss another one of our fancy newfangled moving pictures.